loud here. So, animals. Some people love them, some people hate them, some people are indifferent. I'm of the group that loves animals. I grew up with pets, both cats and dogs, but I've had more cats in my life growing up. Currently got 4 cats in my house: Tiki, Garfield the Jail's Warlock, Tangerine, and Mandarin. 3 of them are orange tabbies, and Tiki is a grayish-brown tabby. She's also the only girl cat I've had in my life. So growing up with cats and 2 dogs in my life, I've obviously got some stories. Going all the way back to when I was 5, I remember a cat and a dog. Senko was the cat, and according to my dad, Oliver was the dog's name. Senko was a gray, fat cat who was a bit of a grump, but he would frequently sleep with me. Now, keep in mind I had to ask my dad for stories, and I got nothing other than Senko had a urinary tract infection, and we had to put him down. That, and I remember how the news got to me was my sister shouting that Senko went through the roof. Also, apparently, Oliver owes my dad a steak. The next pair I remember were clearly Nightmare the cat and Oscar the dog. Nightmare was a black cat when we met him at the shelter. He actually hugged my sister when she held him, and how my mom justified getting him was saying that he was a gift from my dad, to which he calls bullshit. Oscar was a dog one of my older sisters got. Now, I've got an interesting story that happened between me and Oscar. You see, Oscar had a bit of a habit of being an escape artist, and we would frequently chase him to get him back. Well, there was one incident that stands out. One day, me, my older sister Katie, and Oscar were outside in our backyard, and when Katie turned her back, Oscar managed to get out. I saw this, went out the back gate to go after him. Without telling Katie what happened, I chased Oscar a good distance away from the house and eventually managed to catch him. I didn't have a leash with me, so I just dragged him by the collar and tried retracing the path we went. Eventually, I heard police sirens during my journey because, you guessed it, my family had called the police because as far as they know, I had gone missing. And my sister was freaking out, feeling like the worst sister on the planet, and my parents were having heart attacks, thinking that their 8-year-old and dog had been taken. And they were out looking for me. Meanwhile, I was still trying to get back to the house when an old lady spotted me and asked me what I was doing. I explained the situation, and she gave me a leash so I didn't have to drag Oscar around. Eventually, I made it back, and I knew I was going to be in massive trouble when my family came back from the search. So I just sat down in the timeout chair. When they got back and saw me at home completely unharmed, they were both relieved and completely furious. I'm pretty sure someone called the police back and told them I turned up while I endured a massive lecture about how stupid and reckless it was to do what I did. I was in timeout for a while because of that incident. Well, there was more times Oscar got out. I made it a point to at least tell my parents about it, or at least catch it before he went too far from the house. My family refuses to let me live this down. Nightmare was an easier case for us, and a victim of doll's clothing. He was a pretty chill cat overall. While Nightmare and Oscar were great pets, we eventually had to give them up because we were moving into an apartment that didn't allow pets, and I do hope they found good homes. 2 years later, we moved into a house and came across our next cat. Around this time, me and my younger sister Anna were walking to and from school, and one day we came across a black cat that on the way to school, and he followed us for a while, and we were conflicted of what to do because animals couldn't be on school grounds. But he got distracted by some grass, and we managed to get to the class okay. But Anna was really torn up for the whole day, and the teacher tried to comfort her, but imagine our surprise when on our way home, we ran into the same cat, and he followed us all the way to our street. And when it got to that point, he sealed his fate. We scooped him up and took him home. And I talked to Mama. I brought him in. Mama called Papa and said, "Hey, get some cat stuff." Our daughters brought home a cat. We called him George based on that Bugs Bunny bit. It was my dad's idea. We got him close to Anna's birthday, so it was like a kind of like a joke that he was her birthday gift from fate. Anna absolutely adored George. Our whole family did, but he was hers. He'd wait by the window for us to come home from school. However, when we were in the process of moving, and we went to stay with our grandparents for the time being, and took George with us. During that time, and we were looking for a place, we eventually settled on going to a B&B in our current town, but we couldn't take George with us because they didn't allow animals, so he stayed with Grandma and Grandpa. Eventually, we got an apartment that also didn't allow pets, so there he stayed. When we finally did get a house, and the topic of him coming back with us came up, it was too late. George had gotten really sick to the point where he wasn't eating or drinking at all. Basically, there was nothing that could be done for him, and he had to be cut down. That was a rough time for us, especially Anna. He was a good cat. He never clawed on the furniture. He never got into anything he shouldn't have. Just a very good boy. My dad loved him. My mom loved him. He absolutely was adored by my grandparents, even my grandpa, who was allergic to cats. However, not even a week after we had to put him down, Grandma was like, "Let's start looking for another cat for you guys." Really reading the mood there. So after a while looking online, I texted one of my friends to see if she knew of anyone with cats in need of a home. And turns out she had cats that needed a home. So we organized a meeting, and long story short, we got 2 kittens that we named Tiki and Garfield the Deer's Warlock. And they are so precious, and we love them tons. They haven't really gotten in too much trouble, but they talk a lot. But if you remember back in the beginning, I mentioned I have 4 cats in my house. So where did the other 2 come from? Well, let me explain. My town is overrun by cats, and we met this one Siamese cat that we called Matcha. And Matcha was a mama. One day, she gave birth to kittens under our deck. Mandarin, Tangerine, Pistachio, and Sriracha. We don't know what happened to Pistachio. She disappeared. A few months later, Matcha had left her kittens to fend for herself. Sriracha got adopted by my sister's boyfriend, and we named her Peepers. So all that was left was Mandarin and Tangerine. One day, I was getting ready for college classes and went outside. It was snowing, and Mandarin and Tangerine were out there. Tangerine was coughing just at the cold, and my heart ached for both of them, so I took them inside and put them in the bathroom for the time being and went to class. When everyone was home, I explained myself, and it was agreed that we keep them in the house until we could find them home. That was much to Papa's resistance. Well, about a year later, they're still here, and they are very attached to Anna. Seriously, they absolutely love to attach to her hip, especially Mandarin. And those are my animal stories. Hope you guys like them. Make sure to give your furry or scaly friend some love, and share any stories you've got. I'm super curious about what shenanigans animals have gotten you into. The art for today is based on my Major Stoney story, specifically Sako and his elemental Pyro, who he is very bonded to. That is like his son. Pyro is a fire eagle who turns into a phoenix when in battle mode.